Hi. So yesterday I did a Floodgate 19, and with it being with it approaching the end of the season, I thought I'd review the video. Um, I haven't reviewed it yet. We did time the key and got a really good time on it. But this key is quite a polarizing one. Uh, so I'm playing Disc Priest, and although it can be healing intensive at a lot of points in the key, there are some very crucial DPS checks as well. Um, I've experienced this key with all types of groups, and I guess two reasons I wanted to make this video primarily is I've been streaming my keys occasionally just because I do want to review them and see areas that I can improve or change some things. Although I do think I've got Floodgate pretty much down. I do think it's still helpful to review things. I was hoping maybe anyone that watches this may feel the same way, may learn a thing or two or change a certain thing that they're doing. But also just to let people know that there are certain responsibilities that you either do need to take on yourself or don't as well. And we'll go over a few of those because I know that in pugs things can get quite heated. There can be a lot of blame thrown around. There can be a lot of mistakes made from people, yourself included. You know, I'm not free from mistakes, but I think it's just good to identify where those mistakes are, um, how to improve on them, and also where to know where your responsibility just doesn't lie or does. So, I managed to get into a resilient floodgate key. My thoughts on resilient keys are quite polarizing as they are. I won't go too much into that now because that's not really the point of this video. But we did do one pull before this. It went really well. Went up Swamp Face, where unfortunately myself I did not pay attention to the divers planting the bombs during one of the healing phases. So you'll notice in this video I put a quite annoying alarm noise, which well, you know, when you're doing things on the fly, some things happen. Anyway, I do apologise for that as it comes up around the divers pool area. I have since changed that warning, but I didn't want to die to it again. So we had one quite good pull. This is our second pull going into a kill, which was really cool. Anyway, so I'm gonna play the video. I'll stop at some points maybe, but I'm just gonna talk about how things go. So as the key starts, I like to just start my ramp, which is, you know, get atonement on the tank, start with a penance. You can do your premonition because you're going to get a few free casts off. You build up a maximum wheel and woe stack of 8, get a big power word shield on your tank, try and get some more wheel and woe, get your instant cast radiance for your extra bolts, and just go into this pull as charged up as possible. It's not going to save the key or anything, but being able to have, you know, some mitigation on the tank in this pull is really good. Personally, I don't think the Demon Hunter tanks need a pain sup on this pull. We're full ramped up. We've got PI, Lust, we've got our good premonitions, we've got big shields, and the idea here is to just survive. So what I'll try to do is get as much damage as possible. In fact, I am going to turn this down a little bit because that is quite loud. Whatever. We start this pull with your Shadow Fiend out. You're going to get 3 casts of your Penance out, maybe 4, to spread as much Shadow Word Pain, because Shadow Word Pain damage and healing through Atonement's quite good. again, it's not going to be like key changing, but every little bit of damage that you can get out is going to help. Um, you want to try and get some pre-shields on your druid as much as possible because they're going to get cast by the dynamite throws quite frequently. So trying to keep a shield up on them is, could save them. If you get two of them cast on yourself or one person at a time, if they don't have a personal or something to save them, it will kill them. They do 6.5, 7-ish million damage each throw. So two of them is going to kill you. The beware that noise that I've got is when I am being targeted by a dynamite. If I'm being targeted by just one, I don't worry too much. But if I have two targeted on me, I will divine desperate pair. I'll make sure I've got my atonement. Try and get a shield on. I'll fade if I can. I'll try and always make sure that I've got my damage reduction from Flash of Heal on me as well. And this second pull here, we go into it's one of my least favorite pulls. We don't have any cooldowns yet. We pull of a lot of trash. My sometimes I will find myself PIing mid pull there if it's back up to try and get a better alignment of PI for the next trash pack and the boss. So as you'll notice, the plant Cephorium, I've got that horrible horn sound. It's too late to change it when you're in the middle of a key, but yeah. I PI the mage here because he was the only one with a cooldown, and again, I think it's just really important to try and get as many PIs on cooldowns as possible. If you're holding on to PI for more than 20 seconds, it's it's a huge loss in damage. Um, with the PIs, personally, I know what's best, right? I main priest at the minute. I know where my targets are going to be. Don't let other people, well, personally, I don't let other people tell me how to play my PI. We see here that a kick was missed on the harpoon on the mage, so I pain sup him. I try to get as many penance stacks for Wheel and Woe to try and shield the bleed damage as they didn't have dwarf available. You'll notice my mana's struggling a bit here as well. I was a wrong spec. I have Mass Dispel, which I don't need, and I have the 15% extra range as well, which I don't need on this key. I'd just come from doing a workshop. Well, not just come. The last key that I'd done was a workshop, and I just forgot to respec. As a result, I do struggle with my mana quite a lot here because I'm missing uh, the 1% mana return on targets dying with your Shadow Word Pain. So you'll find I am struggling at some heights. Here you'll hear the horn that I've got. That's the sound for me to know when they're casting Sawblade. I try to make sure that I'm not dropping the Sawblade in a horrible spot. So like here on the stairs, I'm standing to the side so that it does drop somewhere where people can still walk up, right? This pull, you you're just trying to get these Sawblade Shreddinators down. Um, Again, you're still getting targeted by the dynamites. And yeah, you really just want to try and get them killed as quick as possible before going into this boss, especially the dynamite throwers, because yeah, that overlapping with the boss shooting you, Keezer, whatever his name is, he'll die. We started this fight here with white poor mana, but there's not much healing going on, so I don't really use too much mana here. I did chug a mana potion, as you'll see, it's on cooldown about a minute ago. Now, the idea here is to just try and keep as many pre-shields as possible. I only used ultimate penance here because use a free window to cast it. It does a bit of damage. It gives me a shield. There's no need to use it on this key. Now our DK, I like dispelling when they're near one bomb. It doesn't matter because every other bomb is clustered up, right? So I'll try and pre-move myself to the next bomb. As long as we can clear all of them but one, we're we're gonna we're gonna clear everything. So right here, I'm standing on the bomb, ready to dispel. I paints up the druid because that dot, um, it does a lot of damage. You need to dispel that dot as quick as possible. Like a few ticks of that, and then dispelling is gonna kill the target. Here I was just watching the DK. Again, just trying to get a good dispel. I want to get them back in melee to do as much like have as much damage uptime as possible. Yeah, I do have the beware sound for when I'm being targeted by quick shot because sometimes I need to just react quicker. And like right here, I've got PI and I'm sitting on PI for a horrible time. This is what I mean by earlier. I like lining up my PI a bit better to get some better usage. And right here, I'm wasting it for a long time. Ultimately, it worked out because we timed this key, but this wasn't one of my favorite pulls. Like regards to like mana usage and PI organization. So right there, I know that there's no more bombs to dispel, so I try to shield the DK if it's if it's off cooldown, and I try to just dispel as quick as possible. And the idea here as well is towards the end of the fight, we want to try and get our premonitions in line. So you don't really need to use your prems on this in this fight. There's not really too much going on. There's not too much damage, so it's okay. You will be able to line it up quite well. You want to try and have your you want to go into the next fight with either um, piety or or no, you really want to go into this next one with piety, really. So you'll notice I sit down and drink right there at the end of that boss fight. It's really important that you drink. Someone else does the clicking, unless they're doing Kazan stacks, in which case I wouldn't be going into this fight with this this dungeon with the wrong spec. So right here, we try our best to stack up. You've got to be careful of this bit of terrain right here where I've been caught on it a few times. But we tried to get it all stacked up as much as possible. You don't want to stand too far away because you don't want these surprise inspections to. You don't want them to be too far away so their damage is being missed on them. You want them to die as quick as possible. So here it doesn't really matter who you PI. If the druid's got 2 stacks of Incarn, which they won't normally have, but if they do, PI the druid for sure. Otherwise, you can PI the druid or the DK, whoever uses their cooldown first, really. Um, Again, here we just try our best to do as much damage as possible. We'll save our fear for if an inspector comes behind us and we've got a bit of an overlap, or we just know that we're going to be able to fear for the stop. Like our stop on this pull isn't too important. The dot on the tank, you're going to want to dispel it when you can, right? It's quite a damaging dot. When it starts getting 8, 10 stacks, it's really hurting. So spelling it at 4+ when you can is really good. I'll go into this fight with okay mana of my pots on off cooldowns are all good. And the same thing as well, I've lined up my premonitions to go into here. I'm gonna have 20% extra healing on the first phase, and that's really what you want to try and save it for. This fight here, we're going into it with Bloodlust, we're going into it with all our cooldowns minus PI. Um, we really need to get to the first burn phase before the shield popping off. It's not it's inexcusable for the damage not to be enough with all this kind of with what we're going into. Now you'll notice that I saved my PI here because I want it for the next ad phase. You see, we get into the intermission phase with some decent time to spare. Now what I do is I premonition piety, um, so increased healing, sorry, and I'll use my uppies. Everyone's got atonement on them. The DK has to use their AMZ first, uh, simply because theirs is on a shorter cooldown, and you want to try and do this in 3 phases. We'll have barrier for the second. Uppies with your premonition right there is plenty of healing. You get a huge shield on yourself. You keep everyone up. It's really simple to heal that first phase. The problems that you're going to have are when the damage is lacking and it goes into the shock barrier phase, which does pretty much the same damage, AoE damage to the group, as the intermission phase. And the longer that's in that phase, you're going to be forced to use your cooldowns as a healer. Like right here, the ads are still alive. Now, I can pop some cooldowns early if you notice. I've got my big cooldown right here, my big premonition. I get some decent shields up, I get some decent stacks of Wheel and Woe. I'm targeting penance at the party rather than the boss. We pop our barrier down with fading. I've desperate prayed as well. The DK's actually got another AMZ, which I'm surprised about. Normally it doesn't have it by now. But he's specced into a shorter cooldown. Um, and really, you should have enough throughput to heal this second phase. We just had overkill with a lot of cooldowns, so that's fine. Again, you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you're using your dispel when there's tanks getting quite high stacks. Like right now, he's got 7 stacks. Yeah, there we go. I do get a dispel off. You notice the Demon Hunter, sorry, here hasn't asked for PSs, so I've been sending them either when I feel I need to catch up on healing. I noticed that he hasn't got a cooldown, or I'm just trusting. You know, he's still got his passive, his meta. So we're all good. We're not in too much of a problem. Now, here the DPS is doing pretty well. We're in the shock barrier phase for a little while, which is fine. But I'm pretty tapped for cooldowns. So we've got a darkness down. I do have a pain sup, which you can use, but I tend to judge it on how many more jump starts are going to be cast. I pop a potion in that fight as well, just to relieve a little bit of pressure. And this is basically as clean as you can get when it comes to this boss. Killing it in 3 phases with very little overlap time of the shock barrier. Like, this is a good damage group, right? They've managed their cooldowns really well, but I'm struggling with my mana. It is what it is. So right now the Demon Hunter should go and click on the boxes to the left-hand side. I'm sitting here drinking. I try and get as full mana as possible. And here we go, we're ready. We've got 2 stacks of premonitions. We're doing good, we're doing fine. Now here the demolition guy is gonna basically cover the floor in a bunch of crap. You wanna let that first one go through, because it's easier for stops once he's cast the first one. And right here, you'll notice I started my premonition of solace. I got a decent solace off on the mage. I tried to get as much shields off as possible, and I save my Shadow Fiend for this second one. I tried to send it out early, so I've got better global cooldowns. Now my second premonition is my big increased healing. Got 3 3 casts of either your shield or your penance. And if you notice, I'm not using my PI. Now, PI on this pack is obviously nice, but it didn't line up well enough. And this next pack that we're going to do, being able to kill this quite quickly is that like the next pack is really good. So I like having PI for that. If you notice, the druid's ready on the pack on the weapon pile, to be able to click it. And what I do here as a priest is I'll jump down with slow fall, and then I'll fade as I get closer. The tank will go and gather, and I can just fade, click the bomb. You'll see the tank's to the left, he's just already picking up, and I get out of the way. We do this to enable the RP of the boss, basically give us a bit extra time. Now I've got a horn sound, that's for when they're doing the AoE, it just lets me know if I need to use a stop or not. In the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, just above the little avatar, that's all my stops for the group, and priests are always generally last. So as long as someone else has got a stop, I try not to fear. The only time that I'll fear is if I get a little bit worried that it's not coming. Here, it's just, burn this pack down. We're going to have crabs, so you're going to have some AoE damage coming on. You'll see me sometimes casting Radiance, even if a group's, not particularly damaged, but it's just a nice way of getting 5 atonements off. Now here, he chained too quick, in my opinion. We didn't get to drop combat, so I didn't get to get a drink off. So I pop a potion, a mana pot, and we're going into this fight, and I've only got about 75% mana, which you'll notice does become a bit of a problem. But we do the best we can. Right. Right now, we're going into the fight as well with Piety. And we'll use that here just as it's about to switch into the phase. We've got 20% increased healing. We've got the AMZ. I've got my uppies. This first phase is fine. We just like burn it. We burn it nicely. You'll notice we've got Bloodlust on cooldown for another 2 minutes. The mage will very likely pop it almost instantly when it's up. We do need it. But we're doing really well for time. Now, the divers being here, you want to be careful of the bombs. But the bombs are quite far away. So we're alright. Here, again, we're going into the AoE slams with Fade. We've got Barrier right there. We're trying to keep shields on the Druid as much as possible. Yeah. What I'm doing now is holding my PI for the next cooldown, which is probably going to go onto the mage. It's a single target. Every time you're on a single target, you basically want to save your PI for the mage. They can just dump as much damage in their AS as possible. So right now we're drying up on cooldowns a little bit. I PI the mage on his cooldown, and I'm doing my best to try and top things up. I ask for an innovate. The druid says it's on cooldown. It is what it is. So I PS the druid here. I do it twice in this fight. I do remember because DKs can pretty much look after themselves. Mages are really tanky, but druids, if they're out of Moonkin form, that they're not doing much damage, and you want to try and enable their damage as much as possible. Now we're getting back up. We get our bloodlust, which is nice. And here we're just doing our best to try and keep everyone alive. We're noticing that we've still got potions, so in that case, I will drop healing on myself to prioritize someone else, knowing that I've got a potion to top myself back up if need be. Now, I've got a good premonition coming here. We fade, but I'm out of mana. But we've got a good premonition. So we can just about get through. Just about get through. You'll notice that again that I used another stack of pain sup just to get us through. Just to make sure that no one dies here. I get a innovate right at the end of the fight, which I think saves the mage, if I'm honest. But that's fine. And we go through with 0 deaths, quite surprisingly. Again, I've gone into this boss, into this dungeon with the wrong spec. And what I do here is, I just get a drink off. We do the skip. The DK goes all the way back. I'm drinking, drinking, drinking. Move out of the way of the puddles. I might get a second drink off. No, we're in combat. Forget. And you wait for the fish to do its frontal, and we run through here. I tried to get a Mind Soothe off on these so we can pull a bit forward, waiting for the tank to completely drop aggro. And then, yeah, this is just a AoE, sort of like a mid-intensive AoE fight. I PI the Druid where I should have PI'd the DK. It was just a panic click. I needed to try and get my dispels off cooldown as quick as possible because there will be some overlaps from the electricians. Now this isn't too bad. The Druid was quite low there. I'm trying to shield on cooldown. I'm trying to keep the DPS shielded. There's no real reason to shield the tank right now. And we just move on to the next pack. As you see, our timer's doing really well. Still 9 minutes. And we just chain. We're just chaining. I do manage to get another mana break before the end of the dungeon, so this is fine. Now, I do die in this pack. I was cast on during some heavy AoE, which is unfortunate. And I'm trying to... This is part that I wanted to review to see if I missed a stop or something, but it's really important that I'm lining up my spells for the boss, because this next skip is really dangerous. We need to use our own personals on it. The mage used his dwarf there, which is nice. Um, yeah, my dispel's on cooldown. I don't know where I dispelled actually. And here I don't have one. So I had the dot on me and I got hit by that battery charge. Unless that, yeah. Anyway, whatever. That death's unfortunate. I could have pain sup to myself, but I really need 2 stacks of pain sup for the boss. Rebirth, I sit to the side, I try and get a bit of a drink off. I'm really far behind. Like I'm in a bad spot. I should be closer. But get ahead in time. Now, it's really important you don't cast a heal. You can cast a shield, which is fine. And I waited until the tank had shadow melded before I started casting any other heals. And everyone else recuperates, which is good. It's a nice new spell that's added to its spellbook. Try and get everyone to use that for any kind of skips. Now here, I nearly griefed. I didn't ramp at all here. My Shadow Fiends, my Shadow Fiend was available. I was not ready for that pull. I nearly griefed. But yeah. Having a DK is nice because they can AMS the debuff, so I've only got one person to heal, so I don't need to use an external really. And just out heal that, get ourselves to the next puddle, try and kite this through. We just focus on ramping on on the tank because he takes a lot of damage on this fight. But the idea again is we're making sure we've got things available for the intermission and available for these Gigazap things. Now, I pains up myself there because I want to make sure that I've got enough for this part of the fight. I use my uppies so I don't have to worry too much about healing myself. I'm using my flash of lights as well on cooldown to ensure that I've got my 10% DR with fading, keeping as much damage reduction on ourselves as possible, making sure atonement's up on everyone. And here you'll see I pain sup and fade again. I know that the DK isn't going to take any damage. That's fine. So I probably could have lived without pain sup, but I'm going to do my best to farm it back through spamming power word shields. Now I will be barriering this next AoE. I see that the DK does have his AMZ backup as well, which is nice. I did consider there, if you notice, I did consider barriering the druid, but I needed it for the phase. I saw that he had bark skin, and I just figured I'm going to be able to out heal this. Right here, we're trying to do our best to sit in both the barrier and the AMZ. Sometimes I'll find myself PIing there just so that I get the heal, even if someone hasn't got a cooldown, so that I get the buff for increased healing. But felt comfortable with all the cooldowns that we had, that I'd be able to out heal that. I'll pop a mana potion for no real reason there. I guess I just didn't want to go on a run as clean as this. Yep, we'll PI the mage most likely. No cooldown. Get ready, you've got some good premonitions. There we go. PI the mage, PI the mage, PI the mage, PI the mage. Nope, I guess we're not PIing the mage. Okay, so he alter timed and potion there, which is fine. I just pre-PI'd the DK so I had the buff. That's why. Yeah, I wanted to have increased healing for this part here because I knew my prems were kind of mid. Big brain stuff right there. It's just rinse and repeat. If you see that someone's got cooldowns available, which I've got on the left-hand side of the party frames, then I try not to waste an external. You really need to expect people to use their cooldowns. You don't do keys in sort of like this level, this key range, and get far by covering other people's mistakes. It doesn't work like that anymore. Here we fade. I flash shield to make sure I've got the DR. I'll try and get as big shields on me as much as possible through Wheel and Woe, and yeah, this is it. And unfortunately, the druid dies on this part here. He's sitting in bear form as well, and he comes out of bear form and dies at the last second. And there we go. That's the end of the key. Now, I think the run went relatively clean. Obviously, we had 2 deaths there. Unfortunate dispel timing on the last pack, and a little bit of greed going on, and then this druid dying at the very end is just unfortunate. I'd like to know how good our score would have been if the druid didn't die there, and if I didn't die as well. But we all got some good rating from that. It's really good. We had like nearly 3 minutes spare. I think it was overall a very very clean run. And I just thought I wanted to review it and put it up anyway. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll do some more. I don't know. Peace.